Melanie Phillips is an intellectual that is unlike many others in that she gives us big picture. She kind of puts the dots together and helps us understand. Listen, it's very hard to understand where this world is going. Is Saudi Arabia moving towards Abraham Accords, right? And so therefore we're going to have a new Middle East that gets together Sunni states and Israel against jihadism? Or is jihadism together with the former Soviet Union and the Chinese Communist Party, are they together going to erode the West in such a way is that they're not going to be able to keep their identity or fight back against anything because they're going to be totally lost in all the various colors that emanate from blue, green environmental and green jihadi and rainbow and communism. Which way is the world going? Is it a Mamdani world? Is it a Rubio world? Let's listen to Melanie Phillips as she gives us a kind of picture, a snapshot of this world as it is today. Before we go to her, don't forget to help us and help yourself build the land of Israel, buildisrael.com. What a great website name, buildisrael.com, as well as buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. Get me a coffee. I need it. God bless you wherever you are. Melanie Phillips, what's the big picture? She starts off first by talking about Britain and Europe.
Britain and Europe, meanwhile, are unwilling to go to war at all. They dance to the tune of Kumbaya liberal universalism, which means they say all conflict must be ended by negotiation and compromise, even with genocidal fanatics. They say nothing has ever been solved by war. What do they think was going on between 1939 and 1945, one wonders? Their belief in what they think of as the brotherhood of man means they have at home embraced multiculturalism and mass immigration. They've told themselves it is racist to uphold their own historic culture over anyone else's because the West was born in the original sins of colonialism and whiteness. So they allowed in millions of Muslim immigrants. And now their societies are well on the way to Islamization. Now let's be clear. Many, many Muslims in Britain and Europe pose no threat to anyone. They want to live as British and European citizens, enjoying the benefits of Western society. But huge numbers of them do not wish to do that. They do pose a threat, whether through terrorism or their agenda to Islamize the culture. But the political and cultural elites in the West won't even admit this is happening, denouncing instead anyone who sounds the alarm as Islamophobic, racist, or fascist. In Britain, the result of this has been a refusal, for example, to deal with the infamous, mainly Muslim, rape and grooming gangs that you've read about. There's a willful blindness towards jihadi preachers in mosques inciting murderous hatred against the West and against the Jews. And the rise of sectarian Islamic Gaza-first politics, with more and more politicians in Britain nervously doing the bidding of Muslims determined to make Britain adapt to Islam. The result of all this and more is that Britain and parts of Europe are just like the frog being boiled slowly in the pot. And I'm afraid that parts of America, I'm thinking of New York, show signs of following suit. Now, since October 7, ecstatic Islamists.
It's important to mention that since this speech that Melanie Phillips gave, the infamous Mamdani speech, where he says, I can't arrest Netanyahu legally, but America should when he comes here for the UN, that speech, hit the social media and went around the world. And that's the most Jewish city outside of Israel, New York. And now it's headed up by somebody who is just like a overt, he's not covert. Maybe that's his best part, is that he's overt and not covert. But he is an overt jihadi, and he's shifting the Overton window against Israel and against Jews of New York in that sense as well.
Who, like the Iranian regime, believe that the final defeat of Israel in the West is now at hand, have been spearheading an onslaught on diaspora Jews. but they are being supported by many non-Muslims. What's been so shocking is not just the demonstrations with their chants to murder Jews and destroy Israel. It's that verbal and physical attacks on Jews have redoubled even after Jewish people have been viciously assaulted or even murdered in Britain and other Western countries. What we're seeing, I'm afraid to say, is that violence against Jews just excites the bloodlust. No one wants to hear about Jewish victimization. No one wants to hear about anti-Semitism. All the guardrails against Jew hatred have come down. There's an attempt within the West not just to get rid of Israel, but to get rid of the Jews from their heads, from their conscience, and from their world. It's emerged as anti-Zionism because wall-to-wall falsehoods about Israel's behavior, parroted by the universities, the media, and the global humanitarian establishment, have framed Zionism as evil and Israel as diabolically monstrous. And appallingly, these blood libels have been framed as conscience itself. In Britain, and increasingly in America too, courage now consists of supporting the Jewish people and the state of Israel. So, is it all over? Absolutely not. Much can be done.
And before she gets to, the what can be done, I just want to make the point that my good friend who is out there in the front lines and talks with Jews and Christians and American folks, American leaders, he says to me, listen, it's an issue now that everybody's got to have much more courage, which is not an easy characteristic trait to develop. And places like churches now need to consider whether they're going to create a whole budget for guards and for security because they're pro-Israel. And the other option is just drop it. Just drop your pro-Israelism. And this is a phenomenon that's happening. There's more hats being worn by Jews to cover up their kippas. There are more congressmen who are going to vote the other way because they're being personally bullied. And that is the bullying is powerful. Standing up to bullies means courage, but it also means finances and other things that are needed in order to push back. You need a lot of wherewithal to push back against the well-funded and loud and vociferous bullies out there. So that is the situation. Let's hear some good news from Melanie.
Against these enemies of civilization, but only if one crucial thing is understood. These evil forces are strong only because their victims in Britain, Europe, and America are weak. And they're weak because they will not do what it takes to defend themselves. Iran is not strong, but America's many powerful weapons count for absolutely nothing if it won't use them. If America won't commit itself to take the pain involved in fighting for its way of life, then Iran wins. And America won't defend itself properly because it does not understand that when it has an enemy, as in the Iranian regime, that believes God is instructing it to destroy America and the Jews, any negotiation is viewed by them as weakness and a way to manipulate America into surrender. To defeat Iran, America needs to end all negotiation and fight through blockades or kinetic war or boots on the ground wherever necessary. Britain and Europe could themselves fight back by ending immigration from the most troubling areas in the Muslim world, banning the Muslim Brotherhood and Sharia courts, and jailing or deporting hate preachers in mosques. Diaspora Jews should be able to fight back by stopping, first of all, going on and on about anti-Semitism. They should start instead telling the West essential truths that are never told. For example, that Palestinian identity is a scam that was invented purely to exterminate Israel and steal the Jews' own history in the land from them.
Amen.
They should be saying to the West that everything Israel does is in accordance with international law. They should be saying that it is the Palestinian Arabs who...
I mean, I wouldn't say that everything we do is in accordance with international law. That's not the language I would use. I would use the language of a lot of international law today is being written by the progressive, the Red Green Alliance, and it's not really law, right? It's all kinds of declarations by the UN which are not law, but sometimes you have to be like, I'm not going to listen to you. And there's a huge list of countries who are not part of the UN. I wish that Israel wasn't part of the UN, like Taiwan is not part of the UN. And Switzerland's not part of the UN. Like, I just wish that we would just be like, what do we need this thing for? What do we need this just to be bashed over the head? And I think here I'm not sure, if I agree with that language, which is like to say we're complying with international law. We're complying wherever it's real law, and when it's not law and it's just there designed to shrink us and to injure Israel and to destroy Israel, well, we're not complying with that at all, because we have a more important law. You could say, you think probably I mean Torah law, but there's even before that, there's this simple law, which is survive and push back on bad guys.
Are the would-be colonizers, and that Zionism was the greatest anti-colonialism movement of the 20th century.
Hear, hear.
And they should also start telling Americans in terms that the war against Iran is a war to defend the West, and that they all in America depend upon Israel to keep them safe in America. Now, since October 7, Israel has fought like a lion. Its soldiers do so because they are fighting for their people, which they love, because they are bound in blood and tears to their history, to their culture, and to the generations who came before them and fought and died to keep the Jewish people alive. Israel pays the heaviest price possible of defending itself because its people are determined to keep their nation alive. Their identity, their love of their culture and their history and their people gives them idealism, courage, and hope. Since October 7, the Israelis have returned to their historic Jewish destiny as a heroic warrior nation. Diaspora Jews themselves need to identify as part of that warrior nation, or else they will largely disappear. Britain and Europe will not survive their cultural death wish. This week, I was horrified to see America moved alarmingly to join them. President Trump has not escaped the Iranian trap, as I think some of his comments today indicate he is well aware.
And these comments that Melanie is making was before the latest round of violence, of American attacks, bombardment of Iran, of Iranian bombardment of all of its Arab neighbors, UAE and Bahrain and Jordan, including the death of American servicemen and women. And so she's still talking about the issue of Donald Trump a month ago, right? Who was telling us that he's moving over to sign a deal and he's going to recognize a certain amount of non weapons grade nuclear material and basically trying to cut a deal with Iran. Today, we're already past that. But it seems that way. And in fact, as I'm recording this, it could very well be that we are on the verge, on the eve of another very serious round as armament and American ships are moving back into the region, poised for yet another attack. So that is, Melanie is concerned with Trump of a month ago, who seemed to be going into that Iranian trap that she was talking about. But the bigger issues of the loss of the West's identity, the wholesale buy-in of into the Palestinian, so-called Palestinian narrative, the old blood libels, which have made Israel one of the most moral in the sense that tries very hard to care for individual lives, does not target civilians, and fights for its life after being attacked, and identifies the jihad for what it is. But in the West, Israel has become the villain. And that turnaround, that loss of identity in the UK, in Europe, and some parts of the United States, that is what Melanie Phillips is raising the alarm about. The darkness that envelops Israel is one that is scary in some ways. But on the other hand, there is a sense to me that the world wants to go down into a deep dive into a kind of belief in nothing, nihilism, and succumbing to all the various kind of energies of submission that Islam generates. A kind of like, you can't do anything about it, so just if you can't beat them, join them type thing. That's what's going on in the West. And yet I believe that there's going to be an awakening. There's going to be a moment where people are like, no way, this is not what I want. And I actually think that the pro-Israel people should not give up and should talk to those people and encourage courage. Right now we have to encourage courage and encourage faith in God and remind people that faith in God has always been a test. And that's what it is right now. It's a test. It's a test of, will you allow the culture of nihilism and hedonism, materialism, and godlessness to take over, or will you stand up with courage and call out the fake God of jihad and the godlessness of progressivism and say, if it's going to cost us more money, it's going to demand more courage, I stand strong, and that courage will be rewarded, that courage will be remembered, and that courage will be recognized by other people of courage, and of course by God, who's looking to us right now to see where we stand at this moment, where we stood. And it's a repeat of World War II. Maybe another chance for so many nations to say, where do they stand? Sadly, many nations are succumbing to the wrong side, but I know that you are strong out there. So God bless you wherever you are. And thank you, Melanie Phillips. And thank you for being part of the strength of Israel. And one of the ways to strengthen Israel is to give your blood, sweat, and tears to the land of Israel and help build it. BuildIsrael.com is the website we built for you, BuildIsrael.com, and buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. May the God of Israel grant you strength. And of course, he wants you to lead, and he'll be right behind you. That's what he told Abraham. Hitalech lefanai v'hiyeh tamim. Walk before me and be whole, because I'm right behind you. I'm giving you strength, but you got to show courage. God bless you, folks, wherever you are. Lots of love and lots of blessings from the land of blessings, and shalom.